So many incredible mix tutorials here on YouTube. I have a bunch on my channel, but there's one thing that just about all of them seem to leave out. Hey everyone, I'm Cole Caparoon. Thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry. My mic was off and my Stream Deck is lying to me. So this is just talking about, you usually get these clickbait titles. It'll be a guy with a surprised face and it's like there's a secret and they'll give you part of it in the title. It'll just be clickbait. I don't know how bad this guy is. I think I did like some video with him on before. But this one's called Secret. Mix tutorials never tell you this. That was the thumbnail anyway. And we already got a see me after the commercial break thing, so 10 seconds gone. It's not too far. And it's less than 8 minutes, which I think is short for the YouTube algorithm. I think most of these guys will string you around for 20 minutes, so you could get done in 30 seconds. But again, like it's just this clickbait culture just drives me nuts. And we got another trucker hat beardo. I don't know how many of these are on this channels, but let's see what we got going here.
Thank you for stopping by for another video. Now, sometime about like 12 years ago, I was obsessed with a whole bunch of these records coming out. There was like this assembly line of people working on these records where it was Howard Benson producing, Chris Lord-Alge mixing, and Ted Jensen mastering. And it just seemed like it was the dream team to me because every single thing they touched together I thought was absolutely incredible. The best that all the music industry had to offer at the time. Now at this point, I was almost a decade into making records myself, tracking, mixing, and I was sending stuff out to master, but also mastering myself. And I was just struggling. I was constantly like, how do they make these records sound that good, that perfect? Well, I saw that Chris Lord-Alge was doing a presentation at Sweetwater. This was my first trip to Sweetwater.
So the question right now is he's asking, how do giant production budgets sound good with giant productions compared to, he's talking about himself. Why don't his low budget productions sound as good as these super major, huge budget productions? And, I hate the saying you get what you pay for, because in the music industry, you can pay $5,000 for a mic preamp and it's no better than the $50 mic preamp. So it's not always the best thing to do, but given a super insane budget, like hundreds or thousands of times the budget that he's talking about working with, there's a big difference in what you can get, potentially.
12 years ago. Now at the time it was about a 6-hour drive from where I lived, and I'm like, yep, anything that I could possibly do to get in the room with one of these three dudes and try to absorb anything that they had to say. So me and my buddy Brian, we drive to Sweetwater and we sit through Chris's presentation. Ended up chatting with him afterwards for a while, and like it was the first time that I had met him. But
this is actually cool. This is not a bad idea. This guy took his time, spent his effort to go and watch Chris Lord-Alge at a presentation. It's actually pretty cool, pretty smart.
One thing that was shocking to me about his presentation, and ironically enough, it was not his mix or his mixing techniques or anything else that he actually talked about. He brought with him the raw, unmixed tracks to American Idiot by Green Day. Now, Sweetwater has a really awesome theater that was just built back then with an incredible sound system in it, and he was doing the presentation in the theater, and he was playing back these raw tracks.
Now, I don't want to take anything away from this really, but what do we mean by raw tracks? Was this an old reel-to-reel multi-track? Or are these the raw tracks that are all mixed prepped and everything else? But I don't know. It kind of doesn't matter to the point that I think he's going to try and make, but I'm just putting that out there.
And the thing that like shook me was that the raw tracks sounded better than any mix that I had done to date. And
There you go. All this talk about mic preamps and you got to have this magical microphone and you have to use the special Shakti stone that was blessed by the Buddha, and you got to stick that in the top corner of your room and make sure that the maple that you're using on your guitar's neck once had a bird nest in it, and it had to be a great ivory-billed woodpecker. You know, that all goes out the window compared to writing a song in a way that makes everything sound good with it. To arrange the kick and the bass guitar when you're writing to sound good, to make the vocals fit the guitar parts that they're playing, to all these, you know, the 7 Ps thing, the proper pre-production planning prevents piss poor performance, right? It's not just that. When you are at one of these major budgets, the writing is so good. And don't let anybody fool you. And I don't think anybody believes this anymore, but a lot of people used to think that the artist that that's faces on the record wrote the album. You know, if you, I mean, it can be true to varying degrees, but if you notice the difference in arrangement on these like mega budget things, it's just a little suspicious, right? I mean, that's just putting it facetiously. So he's saying that these raw tracks sounded better than his best mix. And it's not at all surprising. When you're on a major budget, the players all play well. The players all know their parts. The arrangement was done really, really well. You're not intonating the guy's guitars on the studio clock. Maybe his guitar tech is, but you're not doing it. Then they're already aware of it, that this needs to be done. Rather than them trying to do 12 songs in 6 hours and, you know, the guitars can't even be in tune. You know, that's not what you get. The difference between a major budget recording, forget the mix, forget any of that. The difference between a major budget recording and your regular off the street band, it's not even in the same universe. They don't even include the same type of people. There's people with certain responsibilities that just aren't involved on the lower end. And it makes such a huge difference. And it sucks because, you know, that makes it cost so much to do these things. And you can do things that are cheaper and make it sound good. It's just, don't expect major budget raw tracks from a minor budget band. And hi, this is something I call the perverse inverse, and it happens in a lot of parts of music production. One of the big ones is the bands that need the least amount of time in the studio are the ones who can most afford to pay for it. The amateur bands need a lot of time for takes and fixing and figuring things out. And they often don't have the money to pay for even the most budget recording. Whereas these majors, they're so good. And again, it's not necessarily the guy whose face is on the album that played this stuff. They may have They may have some session musicians in or whatever. But these guys are ready to go. So it's like this perverse thing where the guys with the most money need the least amount of your help and time, and the guys with the least money need all of your time, and they can't afford it. It's just a reality of this industry, and I don't know why a clickbait title needed to be done to talk about this.
That moment was a pivotal moment in my career, in the trajectory of my career, and how I handled and conducted myself moving forward. Because in my mind, it kind of answered one of the biggest questions. How do Chris Lord-Alge's mixes sound so unbelievable? Well, not to take anything away from him as a mix engineer, but it really was because the raw tracks that he was working with was so much better than anything I had ever worked on.
You know, we were just looking at a forum post the other day where a guy was saying, like, you know, I need to fix this guy's, like, let's say you're a plumber and you need to fix a toilet, and there's a problem in the toilet. The person with no clue would tell you, oh, you know what, get a different client. Never mind, you can't fix that toilet, just get a different client. Don't worry about his toilet, because he's forget that, fire that client, get a different client. No, if you're so yeah, there's another one, like you're a heart surgeon, you're working on somebody's heart, and this particular scalpel just doesn't work for the patient that you're on, and some other clueless hospital administrator or whatever would tell you, well, just get a different patient. No, you got to save this guy's life. Yes, it's obvious, Captain Obvious, that if you had better tracks, you're going to get better stuff. But is that a solution for the regular engineer who's recording local bands? No, he's still got to record the same bands. So I hope the takeaway of this isn't to get perfect tracks from people who can't produce them.
In my career. And from that moment on, I began the pursuit of how finished could I make something sound in the recording process. Can I actually get it to sound where faders up, it's done, and I have to do absolutely nothing to it? That was a crazy pursuit that I had.
Now, the thing is, that's not up to you. Some of it is. The arrangement probably isn't up to you. The playing probably isn't up to you. The choosing of the instruments, it probably isn't up to you. There's parts of this that are up to you, but not all of it. Not even, I would say, even the important parts.
And going forward for, I don't know, the next 5 years or so, I would have every drummer come in the night before or the day before the drum tracking session, and I would give them studio time so I could spend however much time I thought was necessary trying to get those drums to sound perfect.
Now, that's real good. But I'm sure you guys have seen me mixing plenty of times, so we can have the most awesome sounding drums in the world, but that song sure don't sound very good, does it?
Finished with the record button, not with EQ and compression after the fact. On the way into Pro Tools, can I get this to sound perfect and done? Now, obviously the same thing happened for, you know, all the other instruments, vocals and bass and keys and all the other things. I was trying to get finished sounding tracks that needed no more polishing. But drums was really the hardest one. Fast forward to today, I have made
I don't know if you guys saw my tracking video the other night with the reggae band. To me, the drums is the actual easy part to do what he's talking about. That might not necessarily make it till the end of the mix. There's other things to worry about, but you know, the drum sounds we had coming in were killer. Like, just the faders up mix was awesome. But yeah.
Many mix tutorials here on this channel, and there are literally millions of views on those mix tutorials, but something keeps popping up. People keep telling me that the tracks that I'm working on sound too good. They sound too finished, like I'm mixing something that has already been mixed. Yeah. Lots and lots.
And that's good. That's good that this guy's done this. But if you're really talking about making tutorials for people that are going to record things in the real world, that's not how it's going to be. It'd be awesome if you let these multi-tracks out for people to practice with. Say, hey, if you're working with a super good band, this is what what mixing is like. But people want to know, wait, this guy can't play for crap. How do I fix that? And that's the job of somebody like me, Mr. Doro Dango, right? We polish turds. And sorry, that's what we do.
Lots of people are dropping comments going as far as to say, could you please mix something that sounds crappier so we could actually learn how to polish a turd?
Yes, and guess what, dude? There are many a polished turd that has become iconic or has topped the charts. So it's not always perfect with the budget, guys, and it's important to know this stuff. And especially if you're working at the local level, it's extremely important to know how to do this stuff. So, sorry.
And like I sympathize with this so much because it was such me like 12 years ago. But the problem is the emphasis. The emphasis shouldn't be on, can you show us how to mix crappier stuff? The emphasis should be on, how do I make my stuff sound finished?
That's not up to you. Sorry. There's parts of this that are up to you, and there's parts of this that aren't. Again, you're not the one making the arrangement. You're not the one choosing the instruments. You're not the one playing the instruments. That it's not. Only some of this is up to you. I know this is a good point in theory, and I want to encourage it. You should be getting good sounds, coming into the box. But a lot of this stuff, it's irrelevant for the guys who are asking for the how to polish turds, because that's what they're going to have to deal with
while in the tracking process. It's one of the greatest things that we have here in Nashville is unbelievable tracking engineers that stuff just sounds finished. I get stuff to mix from other producers around town, and I'm not gonna lie, there's times where I'm like faders up and I'm like, how do I not screw this up? What can I possibly add to this that's gonna make it better, because it sounds so incredible just faders up at Unity. And this is
not really. Okay. What? There may be some like metal bands or whatever, maybe some jazz bands where you do put up that mix and you add some reverb and whatever, some final polish EQ on something, and then it's done. But for the vast majority of albums out there, there's gonna be like all these effects you want to put in and production tricks, samples and all kinds of other stuff. So this is kind of naive. I mean, and like if you're talking about country or whatever, where it's just the whole thing, the mix is the production. I mean, yeah, it's recorded well, but it's the sound of the crazy compression going on and everything else that makes the sound that you're after. It's nothing. It's not just making raw stuff that just do no harm stuff. No. All right.
The thing that myself included, we never talk about in mix tutorials.
But again, many people do. I do. We always talk about that. The 7 Ps, right? Proper pre-production planning prevents piss poor performance. Is that 7 or 6 or 8? I don't know. Depends how you count the Ps. But we talk about it all the time. People talk about it all the time. Like this is not some secret.
That the real secret sauce of an incredible mix is actually with incredible sounding tracks, because you can only polish something so much. But if you're starting off with incredible source material, the potential for your mix is so much infinitely greater. This is just a reminder of that if you really want incredible mixes, you have to start with incredible tracks. And if you're not tracking it yourself, do everything in your power to help the producer, to help the tracking engineer get better sounding tracks. And if you are...
It's not them, it's the band. I mean, it is them, but I mean, most of this stuff is the band.
Are producing the stuff yourself, take the time, spend your own time experimenting, try to figure out how to get stuff to sound as best as you possibly can. Make sure the room that it's in sounds incredible.
You know what? Okay, I'm just gonna say it. If they wrote it well and they're playing it well, you can go put a $50 or worse Radio Shack mic, or like the video I did with the pile drum kit mic. You can take El Cheapo junk microphones, set all the microphone preamps at some kind of low level so they don't clip, and the stuff's going to sound great. This is not that big of a deal. It's not, you don't got to be a genius to turn a mic preamp knob so that it comes in without it clipping. I mean, it's not, yes, you got to put the mics in the right place. It's not that hard. You know, we're making like it's all on the engineer. No, man. I mean, I would like it if people thought that, because I'd have more people come to me. But honestly, it's not that hard to get microphones in the correct place and hit the record button on the DAW or the tape machine or whatever. That's not hard. You really got to have the phenomenon you're talking about here, especially when you're talking about Green Day. You're talking about professional producers and writers and players, you know.
Make sure the thing you're recording sounds incredible. The guitar tones, the drum tones, the drummer, like all of this stuff starts with the source. And yes, the microphones and the preamps and the compressors, those are obviously important. But if the thing you're recording doesn't sound good, it doesn't matter what you record it with, it's never gonna sound great.
So again,
there's
that's
links down.
not up to you. That's not up to you. That's up to the band.
Because in my mind, it kind of answers potential for your mix is so much infinitely greater. This is just a reminder of that if you really want incredible mixes, you have to start with incredible tracks. And if you're not tracking it yourself, do everything in your power to help the producer, to help the tracking engineer get better sounding tracks. And if you are producing the stuff yourself, take the time, spend your own time experimenting, try to figure out how to get stuff to sound as best as you possibly can. Make sure the room that it's in sounds incredible. Make sure the thing you're recording sounds incredible. The guitar tones, the drum tones, the drummer, like all of this stuff starts with the source. And yes, the microphones and the preamps and the compressors, those are obviously important. But if the thing you're recording doesn't sound good, it doesn't matter what you record it with, it's never gonna sound great.
I mean, it's a good policy to have. I've definitely been involved with polishing turds to an incredible level and to the point where it's all doable.
There's links down below for everything that I use and all the compressors and preamps and all microphones and everything that I use. Go check those out if you want to see what I'm using on everything. Those links go to Sweetwater. Thank you, Sweetwater, for sponsoring this video. Anytime you need any piece of musical gear, you can hop on any one of my videos and click any one of the links and purchase anything that you need, and it really helps this channel out. So I appreciate you guys doing that very much. But I just wanted to make a quick one here and remind you guys that the source tracks, the material, how meticulously was something recorded, how great were the tones that we're capturing. That's actually the secret to incredible mixes.
And it's not a secret. Everybody's known this since forever. You kind of tend to forget it when you watch a bunch of mixing tutorials, which I think is his point. This could have been a lot worse. This isn't that bad. I'm not thrilled to see more Beardos on here, but whatever. It was really cool that he went and drove over to the Sweetwater showroom to go take a look. That's cool. Anyways, I have stuff to do today, and I'll see you guys later.